Hi, this is 365-821 and this is my wrap-up video for the 2020 Manga Freakathon. Now the Manga Freakathon is held the last week of October and it is hosted by Mama Loves Manga, Bizarre Individual and the Panda Post. So I'll try to put their links to their channels in the description below, and a big thank you to them for once again hosting this readathon. I've so enjoyed taking part this year and last year, so I want to say a big thank you to them. Now the great thing about the Manga Freakathon is that it has a sort of bingo board, but it's much more like a treasure hunt. So you can create your TBR and you just read whatever you want. It doesn't have to be any particular genre or demographic, and you just keep an eye out for certain things that might come up on their bingo board. Of course, it's taking place in October around Halloween, so we want some spooky reads, some autumnal reads, and some things that might come up that you would expect in sort of horror genre or thriller genre, things like that. And so it's very appropriate for the time of year. It definitely gives you that autumnal cozy vibes where you're reading horror stories in front of the fire, which is kind of what I did. So it's a really great experience. So hopefully they'll have it again next year, and I definitely want to take part again. Now this year I wasn't going to go out of my way to try and actually get a blackout or any kind of bingos, but I did manage to do quite well. I was just really looking forward to reading some of the books that were on my TBR. As you can see, I have a wee stack in front of me. I think there's about 10 books there, and I also read some digital titles as well. So I'm just going to go through the first one that I read, which is the one I was most looking forward to. Now the first title that I read for the Manga Freakathon was Monster and the Beast. This is by Renji and published by Yen Press, and I had originally purchased volumes 1 and 2 in December last year, read them in January, and I don't usually do rereads within the space of a year, but this title is totally fine. I could reread this right now and I'd still be happy. I had been waiting for volume 3 to arrive in the post. It finally did, just before the readathon started. So I was very excited. I was so happy that it arrived, and it meant that I could reread the first 2 volumes and then go straight into volume 3, refreshed with the story, knowing what was going on, and reintroduced to the 2 characters, Liam and Cavill, who are just lovely. Now, I want to do a proper review of this title, so I won't go on about it too much, but just know I was super excited to see that warning label on the front cover, because there's slow burn stories and then there's like, yeah, okay, but can we get something? I need a little something. And yeah, volume 3 gave me that something, so I was very happy. I so recommend this title. It's so good. I just think it was just a wonderful story. It's just written perfectly for me. It also was really great for the Manga Freakathon in terms of the bingo board. I was able to pick up quite a lot of different things. There was evil laughs and forests and knives and blood and hiding and running and fighting. There was loads. So I was able to get quite a lot of the items on the bingo board, but not actually a proper bingo. So overall, a really great read, and I'm very happy that I was able to start off the Manga Freakathon with such a great title. Now, the second title that I read for the Manga Freakathon is one that I had saved for the Freakathon specifically, and that is Vasalord, and I read volumes 1 through 4. This is published by Tokyopop, the old Tokyopop, and unfortunately they only published the 4 volumes when in Japanese there's actually 7. I kind of had this vague awareness that that was the case, and was totally fine with it because, hey, you know, whatever, it is what it is, these things happen. But as soon as I started reading it and enjoying it and kind of wanting to know what happens next, and now I can't find out. So yeah, I'm annoyed again. It's always like, oh, that's a shame, and then you read it and you're like, oh, it's really a shame. So kind of stuck with me that. This is written by Nanae Chrono. I had a vague awareness of what this was about because there was some sort of like OVA made, and because it had that BL-esque-ness to it, it was very much one that was on my radar when it was released, and I've watched it, I don't know, innumerable times. It's about Charlie, or Cherry, a cyborg vampire who works for the Vatican, and Johnny Ravelo, who is a vampire playboy. So it just sounds, and the two of them kind of end up going on mysterious adventures together. Doesn't this sound like a running theme? Like two very charismatic main male leads who have such great chemistry together, kind of going off on little adventures, travelling around, and also trying to, uncover a mystery. It's very similar to Monster the Beast in some respects. And actually, when I talk about what the next title, it's very similar to some of those as well. So that definitely seems to be the kind of titles I like. I really enjoyed Vasalord. I was able to get quite a few things by reading it for the bingo board. So like full moons and murder scenes and death. Of course, the vampire and blood. There was guns. There was spirit animals. So I actually managed to get quite a lot of things for the bingo board as well, and finally got a diagonal bingo. So I was very happy with my Vasalord read because it was surprisingly entertaining and surprisingly enjoyable. I didn't have exactly high hopes or high expectations for this work, but they definitely exceeded them. It was pleasantly, surprisingly brilliant. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really sad that they don't have the other 3 volumes available in English. So I might have to try and see if I can get them in Japanese and do a wee translation session. So yeah, disappointing in that respect, because actually quite good. So it was a really good read, and I do recommend, if you can get hold of them, you might enjoy the read as well. Now the next title I want to talk about is Bloody Mary. This is volume 1. This is a story and art by Akaza Samamiya, and this is actually a shoujo beat title. I used this as my commute read, so I took this with me to read on the bus or the train when I was going to work during that week. I was working, so I actually had to work my reading around my working day as well, so I didn't actually get too much of this series, this particular title, read during the week. I mainly just got through most of volume 1. I don't even think I finished volume 1 during this week. So yeah, it was a bit of a shame, but I did enjoy what I read. Some aspects of it kind of felt like, oh, okay, I can plod along. So I'm not sure if, because I only read volume 1, maybe if I read more of the volumes, I'll get more into the story. What I really loved was the chibis. Chibis were just super, super cute. I loved the chibis in this. So I will read the rest of the series mainly for the chibis. I'm there for the chibis. So yeah, I can't say if I'm going to recommend it yet. I'm going to read more of the series first, and then maybe do a reaction review video just for the series too. Now the next title that I read is a digital title, and that is The Night Beyond the Tri-Cornered Window. That is by Tomoko Yamashita, and it is published by Sublime. Now I did a reread of volumes 1 through 6 so that I could read the volume 7 that's just been released in October. Perfect timing, just before the readathon started, so I was so excited about it, and I knew I wanted to read it as soon as I could. So the reread, though, it does take you on a bit of a journey. It's quite a lot. There's a lot of plot going on, and I love it. I'm not going to go on about it too much because I literally could talk about it for hours, and I want to do a separate review video. But oh my goodness, I just love this. It's perfectly made for me. Once again, there are 2 main characters who are interesting and different and have their own almost tragic backgrounds, and they have such amazing chemistry together. There's episodic adventures which they go on together to solve mini mysteries with an underlying major mystery or major concern as a through flow for the whole story, and it builds and builds and builds. And so it's very similar in a sense to Monster and the Beast, and also to Vasalord as well. So it has some of those similar themes and similar elements. So yeah, I guess it's a theme for me. That this was the theme for the manga Freakathon. By reading it though, I was able to pick up quite a few little things which helped me on my way for the bingo board. Not as many, obviously, but I got 4. So I was able to get a few more bingos, but it did leave a couple squares for me to try and fill in. Now, I then moved on to a single volume that I have read, and I think I read last year when I got it, and that is Fallen Moon by Toei Hasumi. This was published by Blue, and it was a series of like short story vignettes. They weren't even properly short stories. They were just sort of vignettes of stories. They were like what's that thing? Like the word was almost there. You know, one of those like little scenes that you make in primary school out of cardboard, like something's going on. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Well, if you can remember what they're called when you make a little scene in primary school, can you let me know in the comments below? Because I think it begins with a D, but I can't remember. Anyway, they're not proper full stories, is what I'm getting at. They're very beautiful. The artwork is lovely. So there was angels and demons. That's pretty much what it was about. It basically said, this unearthly collection of boys' love stories will delight fans of beautiful angels and demon boys everywhere. Well, I'm not sure if I was delighted. The artwork was beautiful. And there was a variation. But it always felt like there was, like, where's the rest of the story? So you can't really feel like you're connecting with any of the individuals. It was kind of very voyeuristic. You were just kind of seeing a scene being played out in front of you without any kind of emotional connection. Other than saying, oh, that's pretty. That was about it. So yeah, I enjoyed it because it helped me to get a couple more things on that bingo board. But other than that, I was like, yeah, you can take it or leave it. Beautiful, but lacking in substance is how I would describe Fallen Moon. Beautiful, but no substance behind it. But it did mean I only had one more thing to get, and that was a doctor or a scientist. So to get my elusive doctor and or scientist, I went for Otodama, Volume 1, Voice from the Dead, and this is a Yokanita title, published by Doki Doki. Now, I had Volume 2 in my other collection, but I did not have a Volume 1, and then I think last year I went to go see if I could get one, and I managed to get one, and then I saw one that was even cheaper, so I bought that one too. So now I have 2 copies of Volume 1 and 1 copy of Volume 2, which is in my other collection, so I can't read it. So I was like, oh well. I like Yokanita titles because they usually have a lot going on, but also they're a little bit overly dramatic at times. Like, okay, take a chill. Like, they're all on 10, or at least 8 to 10. There's no characters on, like, 4. They're all acting at 10, chewing the scenery. Is how I would imagine Yokanita's characters. They're chewing the scenery. I'd like a couple of them just there in alone. And even some of the ones you're like, oh good, that's a background character. Turns out he's the bad guy. He's the one that's going to be chewing the scenery the most later on in the story. And he was my scientist guy, and so I was able to get the bingo. But also one of the other characters, he just kind of popped up. I kind of felt like, is this based on a novel? But no, it doesn't say it. It's actually just her work. But one of the characters felt like he kind of came out of nowhere, and then he killed some guy, and it was like, ah. So even he was a 10. I thought for sure he was like a 5 maybe, but no. Definitely every single character was playing their part high octane. Yeah, it was kind of. I should tell you what it's about. Otodama. What it's about. It's about a guy who can hear incredibly well and kind of identify things as well as emotions, and so he could hear a sound and be able to tell you like, oh, that's that kind of engine for that kind of motor, and it's had this kind of tune up, and it's driving along this kind of street on this kind of day with this kind of weather. You know, it's like he can tell all of these things just by hearing it. But he also can hear voices of the dead. So there's like a sort of mystery, supernatural, paranormal type aspect to it as well. So I'm guessing that's where it was. But it did feel a little bit rushed. And yet, like, what happened? And there was all these characters kind of added. It felt very muddled. Like she'd been given too few pages to tell the story. I really liked it though. It was great. And it, of course, her beautiful artwork and stunning characters. And lovely, like, she's really good at making the manga, but the storytelling, I think, for me, is always up there high. Plus, of course, I can't read volume 2 because it's in my other collection. And it turns out that there is actually a volume 3 that wasn't ever published. So thanks, Doki Doki. Great, another publisher who didn't bother to finish a series. I mean, seriously, guys, come on. So, yeah, not the best ending to my Manga Freakathon, but there we go. So overall, I was able to get a blackout, and I think that's one of the first times I was able to do it. Even last year, I read quite a lot, and I didn't ever feel like I properly got the full blackout. I kind of like read around it and made things kind of fudge to stick in. But this one was like proper. I felt really like accomplished by the end of the week because I had managed to get everything and read loads. So I was able to read 17 volumes altogether. Monster and the Beast, Vasalord, Bloody Mary. I think I kind of, maybe I still didn't finish it. Maybe I still had a couple of pages left by the end of the 31st. Obviously, Fallen Moon and Otodama, Voice of the Dead. Those are all my print titles. And then, of course, the full 7 volumes that are available for The Night Beyond the Tri-Cornered Window. A really good stack of titles. I think I had a lot more variety last year. These all seemed very similar in theme as well as in plot, character. You know, there was a lot of similarities in a lot of the titles. And I wasn't mad at it. I really just was like, I guess it's what I like. This is what I chose to read because I wanted to read it, and actually, yeah, I enjoyed it. So, and you should have seen the pile, like stack of titles that I thought, oh, I could read that. I'm kind of in the mood for that, and I'm looking at them just now, and I'm kind of going, yeah, that's kind of similar, and that's kind of similar, and I think that's quite similar. Like I have Legal Drug sitting there. Which, you know, 2 main characters who have great chemistry, episodic, yet there's an underlying mystery. I mean, literally, that's the theme of the Manga Freakathon for me. So, maybe I learned something about myself along the way. Once again, I want to say thank you very much to Bizarre Individual, who unfortunately was not very well during the week. So I hope that he's much better now. And Mama Loves Manga and the Panda Post as well for hosting this great readathon that I look forward to now, and I'm gonna keep looking forward to. I hope it's like an annual thing that carries on for a long time. I'll keep trying to save up some of my spooky BL reads, because I gotta get my BL reads in, and hopefully we'll be doing that again next year. If you have made it to the end of this video, well done, congratulations. Thank you for sticking with me to the end, and I hope that you had a good Manga Freakathon too. And if you have read any of these, please let me know your thoughts, because I did actually enjoy reading pretty much all of them, even Fallen Moon. It was very pretty. So yeah, if you have any thoughts on any of these, let me know. I love a good chat, so have a comment down below. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.